So, how is Susan Wright's testimony playing with the jury, do you think? You could play jury. You're sitting in your living room watching this. Well, Patti Wood is a body language expert, and she joins me here in Atlanta as we make that decision here as well, kind of deduce what we think about it. I want to play some sound, Patti, first of all, where Susan is listing types of ways or things that would happen, situations that would set Jeff off.
What type of things would set Jeff off?
Okay, it's a wide span, so hold on. If his paychecks were wrong, if a customer at work upset him, if the light bills were more than what he thought they should be, if the house wasn't perfect, if dinner was bad, if Bradley was too loud, or if one of the kids were sick, or if I was sick, if he was hungover, if the TV was too loud, if the dog barked too much. I mean, pretty much just anything would set him off.
Okay, is there anything here when you watch that initially that just strikes you?
The emotional detachment, for the most part, as she's making that list, how she's not re-experiencing the emotions of what that must have been like to be abused during that time. There's only a couple of faint flashes of irritation at him, rather than anything that shows that she was devastated or hurt by his anger during those times.
Could you argue that that's just how she handled it? You know, some people allowed the anger to take over any other emotion?
It's, to me, all through this testimony, the fact that for so much of it, she goes into a little girl voice, a very high, soft voice, shows a detachment. It's interesting when that falls down, when it goes away, during certain parts of the testimony, and we see her anger or we see a stronger emotion. But when you're looking at all of the testimony, so much of it, she's giving it in a voice like this, very high, soft, but not a lot of what's called the paralanguage. Right. Paralanguage are all the nuances of the voice. That fits under the heading of nonverbal communication. That's my field. So the tonality or lack of vocal variation always is interesting, because we're trying to analyze, this is the way she's in the courtroom. Is this the way she chose to deal with it in the house with him?
You know, some people could argue too, and I mean, I know this happened for me early in my career. If I got nervous, my voice would get higher.
Yes.
Could that be explained away?
Yes. And well, that's one of the things I analyze in the testimony. You get what's called a baseline. What is her normal when she's fairly relaxed, when the questions are not as stress-producing.
Okay.
And she does have a little bit more variation at times, and her voice goes significantly lower at times. Okay. So it's the particular question she's asked, she goes up to that little high girl voice.
Let's play another piece of sound here. This is where she recalls one time that Jeff beat her because she didn't want his friend, she says, to move in with them. Let's see how she's describing this.
He beat me.
How'd he hit you, and where did he hit you?
We were in the computer room, and he was punching me in the chest and punched me in the back of the head. He threw me down on the ground. He kicked me in my back and in my legs, in the back of my head, until he wasn't angry anymore, and I had to apologize.
You had to apologize to him?
Yes.
Why?
Because it was my fault.
All right, what stands out to you?
Well, having watched many hours, this is one of the few pieces, I wanted you to grab this piece of tape, because we hear more emotion in her voice, and we see more expression in her face. Though what's also interesting is that many times when I'm watching testimony and somebody has been beaten or abused, we see their whole body go down, or we see them reenact what happens to their body. So again, even though this shows much more emotion than any other part of the testimony, still there's a restraint, and she talks about it as if she's a little girl.
But does that tell you that it didn't happen? What do you read into that?
It tells me it tells me when you're listening to all the time she's talking about abuse, that she is over talking about it. She's over dramatizing.
It's like overkill.
Yeah, it's a really interesting mixture. She is talking about a lot of times being beaten, but she'll generalize the statements as she's describing the behavior, and she won't be reenacting a particular beating. This is the one where she shows emotion and she reenacts the beating, and you can see her go there.
And she was very concise.
Yes.
She said she went out down her laundry list, and it happened this way, this way, this way.
And this is the most normal, because normally you go in sequence, you go in an order, and you relive the experience. But most of the other testimony, it's more detached. She's generalizing. Even when she talks about how he would come back on vacation and he would put her head into the car dashboard.
Yes.
She generalizes as if that happened every time.
Let's listen to
very odd.
I just want to listen to this one other piece of sound where she talks about Jeff hitting her with a wooden flute.
Okay. So you find the marijuana in his underwear drawer, and you confronted him about it.
Yes.
And what did he grab off of the dresser?
Oh, no, flute that I gave him for Christmas.
A wooden flute? And what did he do?
He beat me in the back with it until it broke.
He hit you like, how did he hit you?
First he hit me here in the back, and I covered myself, and he beat me all over in the back until
He
it broke.
continued to hit you in the back until it broke. How'd that feel?
It hurt.
Did it feel good?
No, it hurt.
Again, believable?
Until she said it hurt. I liked that the part that sounded honest and truthful was he did this. Again, sequence of events.
Well, and when she covered her face,
and when
that
she
looked
covered
like
her
a
face,
real reaction, didn't it?
Yes. And yet I think she's making it bigger, because when she got to that last part, she hurt. If it was as traumatic an event, typically we would see the devastation stay there. She would stay crouched. She would talk about it. She would use words to describe it more. So that means either she is still detached from it, as she was detached from it in her marriage, or it's not true.
Oh, okay. Hey, well, Patty's sticking around with us here. We've got some more to discuss. We have to take a quick break, though. As I tell you about Lindsay Lohan, she's heading back to court today, and she's going to tell the